Welcome to Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast. I am your host, Dave West, codename Phantom Troublemaker.
And I'm your co-host, Noel Wood, codename Crapshoot.
And I'm your Cobra intern that's coming at you in full O-ring.
Oh,
Codename
boy.
Legion Cub.
Oh, boy, our O-ring's going to be a hot topic tonight.
Oh, my.
Aren't they?
Look, we've already got Christmas Ape up in the chat. Heavy water, here I come. Yorktown Joe, good evening and ready for a great show.
We're getting ready for one as well.
I can O-ring face. Yeah, I hope that this time next year. Whoop, look at this. Ken Tomlin hopped in, who I know we've got a good sound off there. Christmas Ape, O-ring face. I hope this time next year we're all going to have some O-ring face going on. We've got a lot of good sound offs, but many of them are O-ring focused. I hope that before the evening is over, our pal Hillbilly Harper joins us, because I think we need some clarification from him, but we'll find out. We'll figure it out. Kevin Riddle in the house. Will R, what is happening? Will, this is the Needless Things YouTube channel, where we are live usually every other Monday, sometimes more often, sometimes a different day. You've got to follow Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram if you want to know for sure. And that's where you can find that sound off post where you get to choose what we talk about. While you're there on Instagram, check out our partner Shop Slickalicious, who designed this super cool Audible Interlude logo. This is our updated logo you see in the bottom right corner of the screen right there. You can get yourself an Audible Interlude t-shirt. Check the pinned stories at Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram. Our audio version of this episode will be available this Friday. Next week, we'll have a new segments episode where we haven't actually decided what we're going to be doing yet, because we've kind of run out of Christmas stuff.
Yeah, there's not a lot of, like, a deep well of G.I. Joe Christmas lore.
Not as much as you'd think. So we're gonna have to get creative. And then our next live stream will be on December the 18th. Where we will come up with even more holiday-themed stuff, or perhaps we'll just talk about, that's right, once again, Hasbro Pulse has clowned us by scheduling a live stream just a couple of days after we do our live stream. I kid you not, I think they wait for us to announce ours, and then they schedule them.
They've been watching us closely the whole time.
They don't want to compete. That's the problem.
I understand. I mean, who doesn't love us more than Hasbro, really? Rachel is in the chat. What's up? Joe Hunter 73. Welcome in. Legion Cub having the Joe video game advertisement from the comics. Nice pull. That is excellent.
Yeah. We all saw it enough growing up. I figured,
yeah,
I haven't used this yet.
Kristian's always got some good stuff on deck. I love this. Rachel Salinas, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
There you go. There's what we need to do for our Christmas.
We each need to write, since last year we did the night before Joe-Mas or whatever it was called. Each of us this year needs to write a G.I. Joe themed Christmas carol. That is our special mission for December the 18th. So let's do it. And I'm going to make a note of that because I'll forget if I don't.
All right, then.
Oh, hey, look, I've already got a couple of notes here for things that we're supposed to be doing on our next one. So maybe I should start using these note cards. Okay. Christmas carols. Excellent. I love it. Good idea, Rachel. A winner is you. Okay. News. We've got some news. Before we get too deep into the news. Oh, yeah. And our banner here, if you notice, super chat for new hats. Anybody that wants to jump in that super chat and throw a little cash our way, we are still collecting funds to do a new run of Audible Interlude hats. These were very, very popular and very, very limited. Not a lot of people have them. But The new hats will still be this attractive red, white, and blue trucker design, but they will feature the new logo, which is down there.
Right.
Well, yeah,
Down where?
yes.
Next to Noel.
So yeah, any super chats that come in, we're gonna make some hats because you can't put hats up on TeePublic. They don't play that. Raptor the red-nosed reindeer. I like it. I would actually. I have a Rudolph toy set. I might pop Rudolph off the front of that and stick Raptor on the front, and we'll see how that looks. We'll see what happens.
I
Uh,
thought
No,
all of a sudden I have this now image of a centaur raptor because I thought you meant you would be popping part of
oh
Rudolph
gosh,
off and
even
putting Raptor.
even
Ugh.
better, even better. Wait, where did we go? Okay, Christmas Ape says no berets. No, but we could potentially team up with Patchsar to get some beret flash made for Audible Interlude. That would be cool. Oh, here's another one from Rachel. We're never going to get anywhere tonight. Oh, Christmas tree. Oh, Christmas tree. Let's figure out a different a G.I. Joe themed word for Tenenbaum. Let's see if we can do that one. Okay, so before we get into news, let me switch my banners up here. I do want to address something because it's come up a few times and it's a little hard to define. I want to talk about news versus rumors versus leaks versus just made up stuff. We 100% absolutely talk about news on the show as soon as we can talk about news. We love news. We love reporting and sharing and discussing. News is great. Rumors in general, we don't really do rumors too much just because it's not like, I don't mind speculation, right? That's fun. But like when rumors pop up, we don't get into those too much because there's just not enough meat on the bone with something that's just a rumor.
Unless it comes from Sergeant Slaughter saying something at a convention style rumor, then it's usually worth talking about.
Well,
and that turned out to be true anyway.
And that gets us into the next cat. Well, it hasn't turned out to be true yet.
Well, it's been reported on by some pretty reputable sources, and we've talked about it here.
Well, and that brings us to our next category, which is leaks. And leaks, it really depends on where they come from. If Sergeant Slaughter, mentions something at a convention, we'll probably cover that because there's some substance to that potentially. But if it's like Viper Boy Todd on Twitter leaks, that his buddy told him about some news that was going to be happening in the next year, we're not going to talk about that because who knows who Viper Boy Todd is, who his buddy is, to me, that's not even worth discussing really. And then finally, what did I say? News, rumors, leaks,
innuendo,
speculation. Speculation is fun. We'll speculate all over the place. If we didn't speculate, we wouldn't have much of a show. So anyway, that's I just wanted to kind of address those things because I have kind of fumbled around with the definitions on that in the past, and I wanted to provide slightly more clarity as to what our stance is on that kind of stuff. So with that, we move on to the thing that we love, news. What's up, Payne's Toy Samples? Janos Mick? Okay. Oh, we have a winner. Oh, Katzenbogen. Oh, Katzenbogen.
How beautiful your launcher.
Oh, let's hope so. Yorktown Joe, deck the halls with boughs of O-rings. Cobra la 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 la. Oh, this is fun. We've got a good crowd in here tonight. All right. So it's time to show you guys some things. Let's add to the stage. Look at that. We have talked several times over the years. We have bemoaned the lack of 80s era Christmas ornaments. because you can go to Walmart and Target and Hallmark stores and Macy's and JCPenney and everywhere in the land, and it's difficult to find a license that doesn't have Christmas ornaments available.
I mean, Hallmark's doing the Transformers and the Masters of the Universe,
And have been for years.
Yeah.
Listen,
But
deep dive. I mean, even Jem got a Hallmark ornament like what 4 or 5 years ago. So the fact that there's no real American hero era Joes just blows my mind.
yeah, it's bizarre. But we have made some discoveries. Trick or Treat Studios. They currently have. Come on now. I can't read every comment, but they're all so good. Christmas Ape. I thought that was a Cobra Commander whistle for the arena of sport. I would buy that, which is a low bar, I admit. So anyway, Trick or Treat Studios. Unfortunately, it looks like their production has gotten delayed a little bit because this is still listed as a pre-order on their website. They have Cobra Commander. They have version 2 Snake Eyes, both of which look really, really cool. And this is kind of their thing because they do a ton of horror icons as well. And they're in this bust, this like 3/4 bust style. But they're all very high quality, great looking. I've got a couple of their releases from other franchises. So it's cool that they're doing G.I. Joe. And what they have currently in stock right now is some G.I. Joe wrapping paper, which looks great and is the
That is
classic
very
art.
cool.
It is $11.99 a roll, which is a little insane.
Yeah.
But just to have it, I mean, honestly, that could be a cool background for your shelves or something. Like, you don't have to use it as wrapping paper. There are plenty of things you could do with that would display the art and be really cool. So $11.99 for, 4 feet of Joe art. Not really bad. Like if you compare that to the price of a poster, right?
Mhm.
Like that's not bad.
Now, if you're like me, you bought a
And
whole
nobody
bunch
is, Noel.
Nobody is. But if you're like me, you bought a whole bunch of the Combat Hero toys back when
Yes.
they were on shelves, and you put little eye hooks in all of them, and they hang on your Christmas tree for the last like 15 years. I've been doing that with those and the Star Wars ones and the Transformers ones. Like I bought a bunch of the hero style ones and made ornaments out of them.
I did that with Muscles.
Mm-hmm.
The little millions of unusual small creatures lurking everywhere, if you remember those little pink guys. A ton of stuff has come out over the past month, specifically over the past 2 weeks for sure. Do you guys have your Python Patrol flight? Oh, let me hide our news because we've got a little talking to do here. Do you have your Python Patrol flight pods?
Yep.
It's beautiful. As far as just being a cool looking toy, I prefer this to the regular one. Now, look, I still have to have the regular one because that's what it's supposed to look like. But this is a beautiful repaint. The darker bubble on it is awesome. I'm so, and the silver, it's so shiny. Like for being paint, they got a really nice sheen on that silver. So this thing is great. I love it. The included Televiper also looks really nice. They did a great job with him. I'm thrilled with this whole set, and the fact that it's $10 less than the standard one is just even better. Also got my I guess this is Cobra Officer version 2 or Python Patrol Cobra Officer version 2.
Is this Python Patrol
Python Officer
or Python Officer? I don't know. They messed up with the naming on the first one, and they just had to roll with that.
I guess so. But what's interesting is he does not have the officer helmet. I didn't realize that till I got him open. It doesn't have the chevron on the front.
That's because that figure is based on
it's supposed to be the trooper, right? Yeah. But it does have the officer armband that we saw on the Cobra Island troopers. that maybe were officers. I don't know. But anyway, very cool. And retooled gun. This one does not have a removable, retooled blaster. Blaster. It's a blaster. I didn't say the G word.
The pew pew.
The regular officer blaster has a removable scope, and this one does not. It's attached. It's part of the piece. And Copperhead. Now you guys passed on Copperhead, didn't you?
I did, and I when I stopped at Target today, they had him, Vipra, and the Cobra officer / trooper. They almost got me with Copperhead, but I decided I needed a second trooper instead.
This is very hard to orient. Yeah, I want a second trooper or a second officer, whatever I just held up, because I want to turn it into a pilot for the Trouble Bubble, like I did with the Cobra officer. I put the flight helmet on it and made a pilot so I could have my Televiper separate, and I want to do the same thing with this one. So once the prices drop on these, I'll grab another officer version 2 or whatever it is.
With the amount of Copperheads that were on the peg, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, out of that wave, I think he's going to be the one that people, because I mean, they had 2 full pegs of him.
I haven't seen them in stores yet. Now,
wow.
My stores say they're in stock, but I have not seen them on pegs or on the shelf yet. So I don't know what's up with that. And we've got one more new item that arrived right before we went live. Who would like to see a live unboxing?
Wait, you forgot one.
Did I forget? What did I forget?
You forgot Shockwave. Didn't you get yours?
Didn't we talk about Shockwave?
Mm-mm.
Oh, well, he's up on the shelf. Well, then in that
you
case,
and I talked about him, but that was in between shows.
Oh,
since last week.
Yes, your modification on Shockwave.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I got Shockwave, and I got who was the other one? Two came in.
Ripper.
Right, Shockwave and Ripper. Ripper's awesome. One of my like Buzzer was fine. Ripper is incredible, and the fact that Ripper, the way that they designed that device, it seems self-contained, so I don't feel like I need his backpack, and I would rather have the rifle storage on his back anyway, because now that works. Like it's fantastic.
I'm mad about the sunglasses because I've already almost lost them once.
Rippers?
Yeah, they don't stay on at all.
Mine are super snug, perfect.
That's what
like
you said,
Slaughters.
but like mine will not stay on. Mine.
Whoa! Have you tried heating them up?
They're bowing out, so I'm probably gonna have to do that. Drop them in some hot water and bend them in.
Where did you order yours from, Noel?
Pulse.
Oh, because I ordered mine through Big Bad, and he still hasn't hit yet.
That's interesting. Yeah, my Ripper's sunglasses blew me away because they fit like Slaughters. They're perfect. They could not be better. And then Shockwave, I taught my review is up. Yeah, I think my review went up last week. Yeah, I did. So after I did my review, I realized I could not live with his shield being jacked up the way it is. The handle is oriented incorrectly. So I ripped it off and glued it back on, and now I'm very, very happy with it. And you can check out Audible Interlude on podcast on Instagram for pictures of that process.
And no, Will R, I do not mean Buzzer because I have yet to receive Buzzer. It's my Ripper. And
you don't have Buzzer yet?
No, I haven't gotten Buzzer from Pulse yet.
Whoa.
He got pushed back. Him and Shockwave got pushed back to December 15th.
Okay.
So they should be arriving here probably in the next week or so, because I just got the notification that my Soundwave is shipping. But yeah, I mean, I really don't like the decision. Like the lack of backpacks bothers me less than the removable sunglasses. I don't need removable sunglasses on my Dreadnoks. I think
I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah, like those characters are never depicted without their sunglasses on throughout like all media. I don't need to see them without them. So
Yeah,
it's
I
just a
will.
thing to get
Well,
lost.
I don't need them to be removable, but if they're going to be removable, they all need to fit just as well as my Ripper's sunglasses do. Because I'm telling you, they don't budge. They're perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't rub it in anymore. Instead, let's take a look at something that may or may not be perfect. We are going to do a live unboxing right here. Oh, I'm going to look.
Nope.
All right. Well, I'll add
There
myself.
we go.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'll have to do this. So you're gonna see me from two angles here because I'm gonna open up General Hawk, who just arrived today. We're not going to talk about the box because we all know what these boxes look like. Oh, I need a. Oh, look at this! It's the return of the 1963 box cutter, made not famous in the least by my reviews. And then I upgraded, but the old box cutter is still here, cutting boxes just when I'm at my desk rather than when I'm at my workbench. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh man, that portrait is awesome. And don't worry, I know this thing is probably just a little bit blurry. We'll get some nice close-ups here in a minute. Oh, we've got these stupid plastic strips. Hate them, hate them, hate them. What a weird
Bring back the
decision on his
twine.
knees. I know, right? Well, I was so happy because the Python Patrol stuff was all the twine.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We all know how I feel about. Okay, so his shoulder holster here is a little more snug, especially once you pull it down under his collar there. It's a little more snug than some of the stuff that we've been dealing with, like tunnel rats. Man, his jacket looks great.
Mm-hmm.
The sculpted detail on that is awesome. However, this is an instance, as much as I don't like the ab crunch, here, if you articulate his torso at all, his zipper isn't lined up anymore. So that seems weird to me. And this joint doesn't really move a whole lot anyway. Just remove. I don't need articulation in a torso. I just don't.
Nope.
He's got the detailing on his jacket is really nice. Oh, I got blurry there. Bear with me.
Bear with you.
I'm not a big fan of the Yo Joe.
I was wondering what was. There you go.
There it is. Okay. Yeah,
Wow.
his shoulder patch says Yo Joe.
Is that as bad as Duke having the whatever's on his backpack or his shovel?
Oh, this is worse than the shovel, I think. The portrait, let's try and get a little closer on that if we
Dan
can.
Larson portrait.
Yeah.
I just don't see that. I know a lot of people have said it, and I don't see it.
He, on his social media, he put a side-by-side up.
Yeah?
With when I say older, I don't mean age-wise. But when they're right next to each other, you can see it better.
Okay. I do like the gray in his hair. That looks good. The sculpt on his hair is really nice. The fur on his collar looks awesome. And the stars on his shirt collar underneath there. Lots of really cool detail on him. He looks really, really good.
It was pointed out to me that he does have... So he's got the Brigadier General stars on his collar, and then he's still got the Colonel's eagle on his chest. So they're playing a little loose with those.
Oh yeah, I remember that being pointed out when we saw the render too, and it's not okay, but also if nobody had told me about it, I wouldn't notice. His camos, okay. The knees look a little weird, just having nothing on them, just being green. I would prefer just regular pants without these knee pad things going on. That doesn't, or make these gray if you have to. I don't know, something. This just
Yeah,
looks
it should have been
odd.
colored.
Yeah. But overall, like, the figure looks good. I like the tall boots, and they are kind of a more traditional combat boot look. The sculpting and detail on them is pretty great. And accessory wise, I already know one source of disappointment that I'm going to have here. I have heard he suffers from big helmet syndrome. And everybody says, well, just put the goggles on his head. And I still think that's kind of dippy to have to do. So what do we got here? We have got a pretty decent shotgun that is rigid enough. It could use a dab of paint, though, because it looks real cheap. It does have a blast port in the front. But, yeah, this just looks really cheap. It does, honestly, it doesn't even look like it's up to the level of detail of a lot of classified weapons. I don't know. I like the style of it, but it's not, I don't know, it seems lacking. He's got
Gung Ho's grenade launcher.
Yeah, sure is. Pretty rigid, though. And just, again, it's just all black. It just looks cheap. He's got a hand blaster that has a lot of really nice detail. This is actually pretty nice. I dig this. It's got a star. He's got another hand blaster because he's got a holster on his chest and a holster on his hip. More detail, looks pretty good. And then he's got two sets of goggles, one set to go on top of his helmet and one set to hold his helmet on. Not engineering that I agree with.
Well, you don't need it to hold the helmet on in his case. I actually have him.
Oh, he looks fine.
Yeah, I think he looks fine.
Yeah.
Especially once you put the goggles on over the helmet.
Yeah.
I think he looks great. Said I just have him holding the other pair of goggles.
Double goggle, what does it mean? Yeah, the helmet could stand to be a little smaller, but it's not like Dusty's.
Yeah.
It's not weird. So
On
yeah,
the
that looks
original
good.
figure too, the helmet was so big on the original 86 Hawk. So I don't think this looks bad at all.
Yeah. All right, cool. So yeah, I'm happy with Hawk. I got a few little nitpicks, little quibbles. But he looks good. I'm happy with him. Once I'm not doing a live stream and a toy review simultaneously, I will take a moment and spend a little more time with that figure. But I got to say, I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty cool. Could have better weapons, but all I needed him to come with were hand blasters anyway.
Yeah. Like I put the sling over his arm, and he's got the rifle, and he's got the other ones in his holsters. So
yeah, I won't even use the larger ones. I'll just I'm good as it because I'm probably going to put him hands on hips right in the middle of the Joes. All right. So more news. Nunchuck is processing soon from Big Bad Toy Store. And to that I say, enough already. Please, slow down. It's enough. All right. Oh, and I've got one more here. And I'm sharing this because it came from AliExpress, so I don't feel like we're stealing anybody's special picture or anything. So we talked about this one last week and how it's great. It looks great, but I don't know how compelled I am to have it in my G.I. Joe collection, right? But then I looked at the loadout and I see Roadblock's giant blaster and I see some really nice looking other pieces in here that I kind of want to have. And for $35 to get this, because this one I think came with Big Ben, I believe. And I really like that one. I don't know. I'm probably going to end up buying this, which I think I had come to that conclusion last week anyway. But I mean, how can you resist?
I mean, if it's not the Blue Ninja 2-pack, you're going to buy it, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty much the
Well,
only.
hey, I still have not bought the Crimson set, nor will I until it gets marked down. We've got other Joe news in the form of, look at that, a Major Bendy's G.I. Joe themed Sergeant Slaughter. This is an officially licensed figure by Sergeant Slaughter, not by Hasbro. But it is taken inspiration from G.I. Joe design of the Slaughter figure and the G.I. Joe packaging art, obviously. This is exclusive to the Wrestling Collector Shop. And I ordered one. I thought it might get here today, but it didn't make it. So we'll take a look at it. We'll do a little unboxing on the next live stream. But I mean, I love Sergeant Slaughter, and particularly love when they do a Slaughter design with a G.I. Joe theme to it, and which Mattel has done a couple of times now. And this is a cool release. And these Major Bendies are nice quality figures. They're bulky, they're thick. They're like, if you guys remember the old WWF Bendums, the first couple series of those were really nice. Like, they're thick, they're hefty, they have a weight to them. They've got this kind of like musculature. This is before the Attitude Era hit, and they all turned into like these weird, scrawny little things. So I'm pretty excited about this one. All right. It's time to get into some real news. So the first piece of news we got related to 3 3/4 inch figures and Super 7 was that Pulse is now going to stock the G.I. Joe reaction figures, but apparently only the mainline face character type figures, because they don't have the troop builders from this wave for some reason. The Crimson Guard and the masked G.I. Joe pilot.
And they're only selling them in this 4-pack. So you're not selling them in as individual items.
Right. And it says 4-pack, but it's just the 4 figures, like, carded. Here you go. It's not like it's a special actual 4-pack. It's literally just, here are these 4 figures, which is fine, because look, if you order them from Super 7, you got to pay their $15 shipping or whatever it is. If you order from Pulse and your Pulse Premium, free shipping. So that right there is a price improvement. I have been wanting Pulse to carry Super 7's G.I. Joe stuff for a long time now, so I could take advantage of that free shipping.
And just speculation, but I think this is them testing the waters, because, well, we saw they added some of the Ultimate figures from Super 7 on there. So I am wondering, by the time some O-ring stuff happens, if that's not part of this deal.
Did they add Joe Ultimates to Pulse?
No.
Oh.
Well, no, I mean, like, they added Power Rangers Ultimate stuff.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And I think we even mentioned that when they did it.
Right. They're adding Super 7 Reaction. It just seems like this partnership with Super 7 is, and I mean, I think it's great. I'm not saying this in a negative way. It just seems like they keep tossing bait out there to see, okay, are the fans going to buy from us? Are they not? I'm sure Pulse, Hasbro has no distribution issues. I don't know what their international shipping is like for Super 7.
Whoops.
So, yeah. So I wonder if this is all leading up to when the Super 7 O-ring stuff happens. Will we see it?
Well, and yeah, they may well be laying the groundwork for, get ready for this. Like, Hasbro may have more of a hand in Super 7's O-rings than they ever did with the reaction stuff. And that would be nothing but a good thing, because I do think part of the reason people might have looked a bit askance at the reaction stuff is they looked at it as, oh, it's Super 7. This isn't real G.I. Joe stuff because Hasbro's not directly involved. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even beyond, oh, G.I. Joes were never 5 points of articulation. I think that maybe was a little bit of a stigma to people as well. But now,
I see the same backlash against Ultimates figures. So yeah, I think it's a not Hasbro thing for a lot of people.
And if Hasbro is going to get involved in distribution for these, that's nothing but a good thing. It's just lending, in my opinion, for me personally, credibility that they don't need, but to many Joe fans, credibility that probably is needed to move the product and to get people to have faith in what Super 7 is doing.
To actually believe it's an O-ring, because I cannot believe
I
saw that comment on an actual site.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. All right. So we have an update from our pals at Callsign Longbow. Speaking of O-rings, first we get this great look. This is because Grindstone Toys designed this figure for Skeletron for the RoboSkull campaign. We got a nice look at this beauty. And then we also got a look at Ghost. Oh, wait, I should have put the other pictures first. Look at this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sharp detail, beautiful colors, great design. This is, even though it's not G.I. Joe, this O-ring gets me really excited. This is, as we talked about when Longbow was going on, this feels like it could have been 1988 G.I. Joe. The designs, everything, just the feel of them, it works. And that's part of our problem, or part of my problem anyway, with Hasbro's newer O-rings, is that to me, they can't stand beside the originals. This, look at the gloss on it. Look at the sharpness of the detail. I think you could put this beside. Now, granted, we don't have it in hand. We won't know for sure until we do. But looking at these images, I think you could potentially put this on your vintage O-ring shelf and it wouldn't stand out. Like it wouldn't look like it doesn't belong.
Did you go all in on this one? I know you did with Skeletron.
I went a lot. I went a lot in. I can't remember if I went all in, but I went. I'm getting a lot. I think I'm getting like a dozen figures.
Okay, because I did
maybe more.
I did the 4, and after seeing these pictures, I know I'm going to end up buying more when they come out, because as good as those drawings were and all of the lead up, when we ordered,
right?
My God, that's just a beautiful figure.
Yeah, this is next level. Well, this, and again, to go back, like, these are gorgeous. They're just absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, can't wait to see more of these. Oh, Wotaj looks like one of the trooper bot aboard the Cygnus from the Black Hole, only in lilac purple. I love it when somebody finds an alternative purple. Lilac. Well done. I like it. So we do have a little update to go along with these pictures. An update on our estimated fulfillment, which this really shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. After evaluating the entirety of our progress, we believe that our early 2024 target is no longer realistic. Our current projection places us into mid to late year 2024 delivery. Look, that's not surprising to me. I never really expected these at the beginning of 2024. We know, legit, well, not legit, that's not the right word to use. Larger toy companies with more resources have production dates slip all the time. And for an independent toy company with so few people running things, Of course, their time was going to slip a little bit. I'm fine with that. This delay is not based on the performance of our factory, but rather the front-end sculpting and engineering phase of this project. The overall sculpt phase of the project has taken longer than we had planned, especially after we made some adjustments to the underlying engineering bug. We'd like to extend our sincere apologies for the delay. We are absolutely committed to producing the best product possible, and we appreciate your patience as we work to perfect the nostalgic look, feel, and quality of our O-ring action figures. Look, make them great.
Right.
You know?
I I'm sure there are people out there that want an apology when they hear something like that, but I sure don't. You
No.
tell me you're going to have to wait another year because we realize how to make these figures even better. I'm going to go, I got it. We waited a year and some months for Tiger Force Outback. We're good. You got this.
Right. Yeah, if you can wait for that, good gosh, you can wait for, what looked to be some of the most exciting, best quality O-rings we've seen in many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably does help call sign Longbow's cause that the Robo Skull has also, lost a little traction as far as their shipping date. So it's fine. Make this stuff great, then get it to me. I'm fine with that. Speaking of O-rings in late 2024, we've mentioned it a couple of times already. Noel, your hands are raised in victory. Why don't you talk a little bit about Super 7 producing G.I. Joe rings?
Well, I mean, this is something that is long overdue, as we have now learned that this was what Super 7 wanted to do all along. Is produce O-rings rather than doing the reaction figures. But Hasbro, of course, had their own plans, and we saw how that was executed. And Hasbro clearly did not have a strong indication that they wanted to keep going with those. So finally, we get Super 7 doing what they. I mean, I can't imagine they're not going to knock this out of the park, because we've seen what they've done with all these reaction figures and these designs, obscure characters and decos that we always wanted to see from comics and Sunbow, and now we're gonna get that no ring, and I'm hyped. Like this is to me the most exciting GI Joe news that's happened in a couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. This is what we've been talking about from the start of Reaction. Is Super 7 doing O-rings would be phenomenal, and we have some details to make sure get out there. I highly recommend everybody watch Pixel Dan's video. You may have noticed over the last month or so, Pixel Dan has suddenly developed much more of an interest in G.I. Joe than we've ever seen him display before. And I get
he
it.
wore his Ninja Force Zartan cosplay at the Retro Toy Con
right.
a couple weeks ago.
Yes, absolutely. He has really really been putting forth the Joe. I would imagine ever since Brian Flynn first contacted him and said, "Hey, we really like you, and we'd like you to be our Joe guy." Ooh, I better put together a GI Joe costume. I'm just kidding. I'm sure Pixel Dan, renowned Masters of the Universe fan, has loved GI Joe just as long as all of us have. And he's a fun guy to do videos like that. So go watch Pixel Dan's video. He's a nice guy who loves toys, and I don't know what more you could ask for. So, Kristian, did you have an opportunity to watch the video?
Half of it.
Okay.
I did not get to finish it yet, but I've read as much as I could before the show.
So some of the finer points of the interview that Brian Flynn got across, and look, I understand that Brian Flynn sort of rubbed some people the wrong way. However, I appreciate the guy because I feel like he's the most transparent toy producer that we get. Even Randy Falk is not as open as Brian Flynn is. And a lot of times when people get mad at him, it's because he's told them a truth that they don't want to hear. And that's just how it is. Yeah, that's right. Pixel Dan is a wrestler. And speaking of major bendies, Pixel Dan's wrestling character, whose name I can't remember right now, has its own major bendy that I had planned to go to Retro Toy Con and buy, and then I ended up not making it. So I'm going to have to hope I can find that some other way. But yeah, he is part of the major bendies line. He really is a delightful guy. I mean, I'm not just because I'm jealous does not mean I don't like him. So some of the key points from the video. They are aiming for these to be the same price as reaction figures. That is the quote. That is the goal. That is what he said. And he wouldn't have said it if that wasn't the aim, because believe me, Brian Flynn knows how angry toy collectors can get. These should be available everywhere that Reaction is available. We all know that Super 7 has these retail ties now. Obviously, with Target, they've been around for a very long time with the Reaction products, not just Reaction Joe's, but all of their other licenses. FYE, now Walmart is carrying some Super 7. And of course, Big Bad, Entertainment Earth, all of your online retailers, these should be available everywhere. And he made this statement on the same day that Reaction was first made available on Hasbro Pulse. So I have to assume he was also including Hasbro Pulse in that. That is my hope. He also said that they have basically been working on O-ring designs ever since they got the license, because as we've talked about many, many, many times here on the show, Super 7 wanted to do O-rings from the start, and Hasbro said no, until now when they said yes. The license will include Sunbow, Deke, and comic book stuff. Now, it was interesting that they very specifically pointed out Deke. So I think our chances of a mind mangler just went way up.
I can absolutely see them doing that as a San Diego exclusive set.
I can see them doing that as just a set, just to do it. They're crazy. And they are looking to make things that never got made, which is something we've been talking about since 3 years ago when we started this show.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they've been doing. They've been doing the figures that never got made. We just haven't gotten them in the format we wanted.
Right. And basically anything and everything has been thought about and is on the table. From vehicles to weird characters to robots to all of it. Like, Brian Flynn is a G.I. Joe fan. He is a huge G.I. Joe fan. He this when they launched Ultimates, he said that was the product he had been waiting to do forever. So we're going to get weird stuff. We're going to get great stuff. We're going to get stuff we've never seen before. I am very, very excited. And we'll talk more about this when we get to Sound Off, because most of our Sound Offs are based around the Super 7 O-rings. And with that, let's see. Do I have one more? No, I do not. That brings us to the end of news and the beginning of Sound Off. Are you guys ready to
wait. Before we do,
whoa.
I want to circle back real quick to that comment about when Super 7 posted their photos of the
yes, that's right.
Vipers.
Take it away.
I saw a comment, and this just shows you sometimes, well, not sometimes, a lot of times people on the internet, they just want to be hateful and mean to be hateful and mean. And this comment was, they're not even real O-ring figures. O-ring figures have the rubber band in the middle. Where's the rubber band? I refuse to feed trolls, but my gosh, did it take everything I had in me not to reply back. Inside the figure, like the vintage ones that you didn't see.
Well, what drove me nuts, and I should have had the picture ready, but this, Super 7 put up that diagram that explicitly said swivel biceps, O-ring with a little
Mhm.
diagram of the O-ring. Like, it described literally every part of the figure. And I saw comments saying these aren't even as articulated as well as the original Joes. I'm like, it's there. It's literally
Yeah.
a picture. Like, it's not even about reading. It's about looking at a picture. We need to assign Richard Scarry's Busy Town series to some of these overbred myopic
Oh my
fools
God.
that feel the need to comment on
Can
it's unbelievable.
Can we team up with Bean and Bear and make some O-ring educational videos?
Yes, some O-ring puppets.
Yes.
This goes into this and it makes an O-ring. Anyway, all right.
And of course, they also changed the tiers a little bit on the mothership.
Yes.
Mhm.
So that my thought on this is that O-ring or that mothership is going to fund regardless at this point in time. Regardless of whether or not we actually get 4,000
Yeah,
people
yeah.
to back it, they're going to hit that number because they've already spent. I forget how much it was, but it was a lot of money tooling that thing.
It was 400,000.
400,000. I knew it was like close to $500,000. They're going to offer some nice discounts to some third-party sellers. They're going to be like, "Hey, Big Bad, we'll give you 100 of these at this cost for you to resell."
Well, if you look at eBay as frequently as I do, look at the sold auctions for the Hiss tank now. There's a lot of people that bought them to flip that are very, very happy right now, and some people with buyer's remorse that
yeah,
are very, very poor right now. And it's gonna be even worse with this mothership, I think.
yeah. So I
I
think
think so.
this is an indication to me that they are going to produce it regardless. They're going to get as many actual organic backers as they can, but it's it's going to happen. They're going to put it into production.
Road Pig John is in the chat. I'm so glad that Super 7 will make Joe O-ring figures. We all are. Rachel has an interesting thought exercise. We've talked about this a little in the past. If Super 7 added articulation, wrist and ankle, would that kill the nostalgia vibe, or would you welcome more articulation? For me personally, I don't mind the wrist articulation because it's very subtle. It doesn't detract from the profile of the figure, but ankle articulation, I would not want. One, because it would be visible. There's no way around it. And two, over time, at that scale, ankle structures, I'd be concerned about the integrity.
If it was a swivel ankle, it wouldn't be as bad.
A swivel?
Yeah,
like
so if it's just an ankle that like rotates and that's it, I wouldn't mind that as much because it'd be like the wrist. It would just be, you just have a swivel.
Oh, you mean like at the top of the boot or something?
Yeah, or just at the, depending on where the foot is. So it could be at the top of the boot, or it could be, at
right,
top of the
But
shoe.
you're not saying like literally a cut
not
at the ankle in the boot. Like, that would be bizarre.
I literally don't need that because, I mean, I don't think they require any additional articulation to post them on your shelf, and also it's just going to add more cost. And why would I do anything that's going to add
right
cost?
Yeah, that right there is the bottom line. Is yes, I don't want anything that's going to make them more expensive. So yeah. Here, this is it right here. Ken Tomlin, hopefully they'll make O-ring October Guard figures and vehicles from the Marvel run of comics. Yes, please. All right, and with that, I think we're ready to sound off. First up, speak of the devil, it's Ken Tomlin with all the classified figures info on what's in the pipeline. I think it's time for you guys to make an updated list of your top 5 or 10 classified figures and vehicles that you want. My top 5 figures are Freefall, Repeater, Recoil, Sneak Peek, and Crosshair. Vehicles, Desert Fox, and Devilfish. So I'm just going to go. I think we should each just give our top 5 figures and then some vehicles. What do you think of that?
Works.
So since I actually had some time today to think about it, I've got my list ready. The top 5 characters that I want right now that I think I will not have to update this list for quite some time. Super Trooper with full-on vac metal, or whatever it is Mattel has done with like a dozen of their Masters of the Universe Origins figures at this point. Globulus, Pythona, and look, don't get me wrong, I want the Guard and I want Nemesis Enforcer, but Globulus and Pythona are on my top 5 list. The other 2 I can wait. Robo Joe and Toxo Viper. Those are my 5 that are probably going to stay my 5 for a while. At least some of them are. Have you guys had an opportunity to think about your top 5 characters?
Yeah, I've got mine.
All right, Noel, what do you got?
I want a Starduster. I've been saying that for a long time. And now that we do have the jump jetpack that they've made, I think it's reasonable. Armored.
And isn't Starduster's mostly Duke, isn't he?
So he's got like the kind of the flash head. He's got the 2 different bodies. One was airborne and one was Duke. But he was the mail away, and he's like a light blue color, and he's got the blue camo pants and But I love the figure.
We've mostly got the parts to make him already.
Yeah,
with what has been shown.
I mean, if they do it like they did the original, and it's not something that's newly tooled,
and why not?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good one to throw out there. It's a nice nod.
Even if you make it like a Pulse exclusive, so it still has that sort of exclusive, you've got to send off for it vibe.
Yeah.
You know, it would be really cool. Pack it in like a mailer box. Like make it look like, I don't know how the old Starduster came, but a lot of the old Joe stuff would come in that like white mailer box with just like print on it. Pack it in a mailer box. We don't have file cards in classified. I was going to say throw in one of the red backed file cards, but I guess that's irrelevant. We don't yet know what the Retro Duke and Scarlet file cards are going to look like. I would imagine pretty much like, that's another thing about Super 7.0 rings. They'll have real file cards. Because Reaction has real file cards.
Yep.
So yeah, Starduster's great pick. Very, very doable. What else you got?
Battle Arbor Cobra Commander.
Yes.
I mean, we're not getting a hooded Cobra Commander. I'm not going to go out there and say, that's on my list because I know it's not going to happen. But then again, never say never. Some things that have happened we didn't think were going to happen, like O-Ring Super 7s and Sergeant Slaughter throughout the last couple of years. Speaking of Sergeant Slaughter, I want my fridge. I've said it before. I want my fridge figure.
Yeah.
As long as the fridge is still alive and kicking, I want him, back promoting Joe. I want a Hardball. Hardball was always one of those characters that I really liked, kind of under the radar figures. And finally, rounding out my top 5, we're going to go extreme. I want my Iron Claw.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah, I didn't go too far afield of Real American Hero at all.
My one step outside is
I
still want that Iron Claw classified.
Now, Daniel Rodriguez, clearly, the way to my heart, but Daniel Rodriguez says, how about a new Special Mission Brazil with new characters and a new mission tape? Well, no, first of all, no, get out of here with your new characters. No, we're sticking with the OGs. But I talk about Special Missions Brazil so much, I wanted to try something a little different for this one. But I mean, that's my real top 5 right there. Rachel Salinas wants Keelhaul, Heavy Iron Grenadier, Don Moreno, Captain Claymore, and Cesspool. Kristian, what do you got? Oh, your new bidet is still sitting on your desk, huh? Nothing but Kristian, what are your selections?
Okay. I still need Flash.
Yeah.
I need Cesspool.
Yeah.
I need Overkill.
Now, which Overkill?
G1, the
Okay.
1991 version, full robotic head, chest that opens up with a gun inside. I need Mercer version 2
Oh.
because that's
Beardy Mercer.
now my obsession for 2024. And I need the Eel version 2.
Is that the one that came with
The yellow and blue.
Did it have like a barracuda with it? Or is that something different? That's the Hydra. No.
No, this one came with the robot shark.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right. Nice. Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
And you got to have the Deep Six that comes with the dolphin to go with them too.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I mean, I had already, I think, mentioned him on a previous episode.
Yeah, I believe
Except
that's come
switch
up.
him for the Deep Six version 2. I don't need the square head.
I like the weird
Deep
square
Six.
head, and I like it because I want to see that helmet fully realized as opposed to just, what is it, like an orange bucket or something?
Oh, the V2, yeah, that's he's
Yeah.
got just like that orange bucket that goes.
I
want
to see that translated into classified, what it should look like. Vehicle-wise, I mean, I've made it pretty clear. I don't want any vehicles in classified. However, I know they're going to keep making vehicles in classified. I want a Havoc. I want a Snowcat. I want a Stun. And I want a Pogo. I know that's only 4, but vehicles didn't seem like as big a...
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I wasn't going to do 5 vehicles.
Yeah, I didn't think 5 vehicles.
No, I want a Claw, and I think that's very reasonable, and I think we'll probably get it. It's just the right size to be a little, add-on. Thunder Machine, obviously, is on the top of my list. Pogo was one that I wanted to say as well. And you mentioned the Snowcat as well. That's also one that I'd love to see.
I just thought about ones that would be fun to interact with. Like Triple T, sure, that'd be neat, but there's not much to do with it. Whereas the Havoc and the Snowcat and the Stun, like, have more spots for figures and more things to fiddle with. Like, they're just more fun vehicles. And the Pogo is just bonkers, so I want that anyway.
Well, I have to follow the crowd on this one because I absolutely 100% need a Pogo in classified. I need the Buzzbore in classified.
Yes.
I need the Battle Bear.
Yeah.
Battle Bear.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty realistic one too. It's a nice small vehicle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Everything else that I want is all diorama type stuff. I mean, if they make the vehicles, I'm probably, I'll get them, but
I mean, if you look at it,
much rather have like a forward observer.
A classified Battle Bear wouldn't involve too much more plastic than this flight pod.
Mm-mm.
I think that's a pretty safe bet. Rachel Salinas Undertow came with the Barracuda. Okay. And she would like to see an APC and a Stun. And APC seems gigantic, but it's so hollow. Maybe it's not too unreasonable.
And do you have to make it as big as what the original was? Could you scale it down to be more like a realistic military APC where you're putting maybe 4 or 6 figures in the back?
More like one of the cargo trucks from Indiana Jones or something. Yeah, I think people would accept that if you kept the same colors of the APC, kept the turret on top, but just scaled it to be. I think people would accept that. Chat, what do you guys think? I think that sounds pretty reasonable. Kevin Riddle, Don Moreno, Vietnam 3-pack of Tommy Stalker and Snake Eyes and Boonie Hat and Disfigured Face as well. Yeah. And people are obsessed with Snake Eyes Disfigured Face. But yeah, that Vietnam 3-pack would be awesome. Dan71 wants a Skyhawk, also very doable, I think.
Mm-hmm.
How is that canvas going to hold that turret?
Well, I
Well,
think it goes on the roof of the
they,
front then.
yeah, they
You make a
would
few
have to
changes.
they'd have to figure out that design a little bit. All right. Next up, scale model Joes. What effect do you think Joe O-rings from Super 7 will have on Classified? Will Classified sales dip? What effect will this have on the indie O-rings? All right, lots to unpack there. Noel, Kristian, do you guys have a thought on that first question?
That's tricky. If we were only 2 years into Classified, I would say, ooh, I think you're going to see a noticeable dip because there were, there's people that want the O-rings. But I feel like we're so far into Classifieds now that the people that love Classifieds are going to keep loving Classifieds. And the folks that wanted O-rings will shift over. I think there's a good intersection there. But like me, I don't see myself going all in with the Super 7 O-rings. When they get to stuff like, Dr. Venom, absolutely. I don't necessarily need a Sunbow Cobra Commander. I know there are people that do, and that is fantastic. But I don't think the effect on Classified will be that noticeable.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it'll be that noticeable. I also wonder how long are they going to keep this pace up with Classified? Because they're
As long as they can.
Yeah, they're releasing a lot of figures, and we're going to get to the point sometime where most of the ones that people want are going to get their first releases. So you'll have repaints and other variations of characters, but you're going to get the majority of the characters people want out in some version at some point in time in the next year or two, I think, at the pace that they're going.
Yeah, and the retro line, the relaunch, which by the way, oh man, hang on. Well, we'll wait for the next sound off because I've got a point that I want to make. I don't think the Super 7 O-rings will have any effect on Classified. And Kristian, you bring up an excellent point that I wonder if it affected Hasbro's decision on the timing. If Hasbro was like, look, we're almost 4 years in, we've put out 110 figures and this many vehicles, we've got our hooks in them. So now if we let Super 7 go full bore with O-rings, it's not going to hurt our main line.
And Noel, what you said actually just clicked something going back to when Super 7 got the Motu Classics from Hasbro or from Mattel, is that at that point Mattel had put out all the major players. You had people complaining it's hard to get in this line that is so deep because I can't go back and get these early figures. At the rate that Classifieds is putting stuff out, I think you hit something on the head there. That one, for the people that maybe didn't jump on Classifieds, like Rachel said, they're gonna come in for these O-ring figures, and then as they see the sales on, as much as I love the Flak Viper, how many people do, or some of these newer made up characters from the new comics or whatever. So when they see those sales start to go down, they're still getting their licensing fee from Super 7 for those O-ring figures. So they're making their money no matter what.
And we're seeing a lot of very popular characters that are, we're seeing them in clearance bins. We're seeing them, the Tomac and Zaymod, and Zorana, and a lot of those characters that are very popular characters, but they produce a ton of them, and we're seeing them, at bargain basement prices at a lot of places now.
So, speaking of the relaunch of the retro card back Joes, I want to make a point about those. if I can get my screens lined up properly. So I picked up the new movie Spider-Man Marvel Legends figures. They look like some of the best Marvel Legends that have ever been released. But the point I want to make, can you hear that? That card back, you could hit Jimmy Superfly Snuka in the head with that card back, and it would knock him out. That is a thick, yeah.
That's how the X-Men 97 figures are, because
Yes.
I picked up
Yes.
Bishop today, and I could not get that package open without a pair of scissors.
That is the card. Those new retro Joes better be. I mean, look at this. I can't. I would have to put effort into creasing this. This is thick card back, and this is how Marvel Legends blister carded figures have been for a long time now. And Hasbro darn well better. Whoa, what am I doing? Hasbro darn well better have learned that that's what the Joes need to be on. And if they are, I think I might be starting a Mint on Card collection. Because I wanted to do it with the last of the retros at Walmart, the 4-inch, the modern articulation style retros, because they just look so good. I wanted that Mint on Card collection. And then they put out, like, once I made that decision, 4 more came out, and that was it. Yeah, exactly. Now, they're not on particularly good card stock, but you could find good samples and keep them. But if I can get beautifully carded Joe figures on big, thick cards like this, because sometimes it's hard for me to open some of these Marvel figures because they look so good. So that's going to be a whole new market for Hasbro if they've done this right. Is one, they have a new long-term sustainable line with the retros where they can release these real American hero authentic looks that so many people want. And you're going to have people like me who are just like, man, those are beautiful. I want to have, even if I'm not going to display it, I just want to have a Mint on Card collection because they look so nice.
And Rachel, yes, like whenever you buy a house and there's holes all over the wall, just hang these new card back figures.
Mighty card backs.
On it, because.
Well, I think she's referring to their thickness, as in you could mud
Yeah,
mud
that's
up a sheetrock wall.
You can just put the figure right into that hole and fill it, and you're good.
Well, no, I'm talking about spreading the mud.
Oh.
All right, let's see here. Oh, wait, what do we got? We've got a joke that I don't understand, but we're going to put it up anyway. Ken Tomlin says, that's not a card back, that's plexiglass. But Wotaj says it's perspex, since Tom Holland is British. I'm sure that's good stuff. I like it, regardless. All right. So the second part of this one, will classified sales dip? No, I don't think they will. I think classified has found its audience. I don't think anybody because for sure there are people collecting classified right now who never wanted 6-inch Joes, who never thought they would buy 6-inch Joes, who are now invested in classified, have found value in the line, and are going to stick with it as long as it's around. I don't think anybody at this point is going to be like, well, I take that back. I'm sure some people will be like, O-rings coming back, eBay, here's my classified. Like that'll happen, but it's not going to hurt classified sales significantly. Again, especially now that they've got this retro line that's going to service those real American hero fans. And what effect will this have on the indie O-rings? Personally, I think nothing but good.
I think it'll boost them.
Yeah.
As we've said about that indie market before, a rising tide lifts all boats. And having Joe O-rings back on the market is only going to increase the demand for O-rings across the board. I think that's nothing but a good thing. Yorktown Joe, what are these O-rings people keep talking about? Just kidding. Have a great show. And then his actual follow-up, more seriously, any thoughts on whether Super 7 might do small play sets and possibly a brainwave scanner? Thanks for all you do. Well, you are very, very welcome. We love doing what we do, and we only want to get bigger and better every single time. Yeah, Brian Flynn very specifically said that everything is on the table. I think small play sets would actually absolutely be included with that. Although, personally, I think Super 7 is probably going to tend more towards something like a brainwave scanner play set or the stage in the Cobra bar or whatever, as opposed to an outpost defender or something like we've talked about in the past.
It'll be something more Sunbow or cartoon related, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think specific scene related dioramas are very likely. Hillbilly Harper, who has not showed up in the chat, so I don't think we'll be able to get clarification, but he asks, what do y'all think we'll see with the new O-ring line from Super 7 and the 4-inch line from Hasbro? We've talked quite a bit about the new O-ring line from Super 7. I think we're going to see the exact same kinds of things we've seen from Reaction. We're going to see Sunbow, we're going to see Deke, we're going to see Marvel. I mean, that's Brian Flynn was very, very clear about that, and I think it's going to do very well because people have been thirsty for this stuff for a long time.
If they just put out the stuff they've already put out in Reaction, I'm already out at least one mortgage payment, I'm pretty sure. Just from catching up on O-rings. And they haven't gotten to a ton of the ones that I've been hoping for since they started this line. Like, I put together a list of, immediate wants for this line, and I just had like a dozen or so of just female characters before I even got to any of the male characters.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that we will do that segment on our episode next week. We'll do a missing in action about what we want to see from the initial offerings of Super 7's O-rings.
Mm-hmm.
And
let me make a note of that.
And Super 7 is obviously known for the repaints and trying to get as much use out of their tooling as possible, because Reaction is a niche collector or one-off.
Right.
O-ring is going to open it up to such a wider audience. Yeah, I now you got my gears going, because I'm going, wait, I know we'll see a lot of the same that's already been released in Reaction, but Brian Flynn does love to do those deep dives in other toy lines for rare, one-off characters. So we may not have as many repaints in this line because the support is there.
Kevin Riddle says Chef Roadblock playset is coming. Let's go. Give me a Red Rockets Glare box with Roadblock, the Jeep, and who was with him? I can't remember off the top of my head right now.
Was it Rakondo in that episode? Was it Rock and Roll? Yeah.
It might have been both of them. I don't know. We'll have to do some research.
And just make me a little Red Rocket Diner building. Even if it's just a cardboard package.
That's what I'm saying. Make the because like they've done with their Reaction packaging, but just make it so you can put it behind the figures as a little diorama. Ken Tomlin, Candy, the Bongo the Balloon Bear is coming. Let's hope so.
In my top 5, and then the next comment was also like my number 1 of things that we haven't gotten yet.
Jeff Butler and Christmas 8 both confirm it was Rakondo. So good. Look at the brain on Noel.
And Ken, Super 7 is not afraid of soft goods. So I absolutely, if they were to do the Bongo, it would be a soft good bear costume that goes
If-
over the figure.
If they were to do an ultimate, I would agree with that. But I don't think I think for an O-ring, it would be a fully articulated bear with a removable bear hat and
Head,
just her
yeah.
head in there. Dan71, O-ring Pythona is coming. Let's hope so.
I mean, that's
So
top
is
of my list.
Nemesis Enforcer.
There's no excuse for them not to have produced, but one ever official Pythona figure, and it was a collector's club figure that's impossible to find.
Rachel Salinas, I'll be looking for those deep dives in the O-ring line. I don't need another Cobra Commander or Snake Eyes. For sure, they'll do Cobra Commander and Snake Eyes because they're always going to sell. But here's the most critical thing about Super 7's O-rings to me is what we were talking about before with Call Sign Longbow. I need the Super 7 O-rings to have that gloss. I need them to have that look so they can go alongside. Because if you're not going to do the core stuff, if you're not going to reproduce the Real American Hero stuff, then we need stuff that can go alongside it. Now, if we get a little sharper sculpt, that's great. If we get a little more vivid paint, that's great. But they need to have that gloss. They need to have that look that Hasbro's modern O-rings did not have. And to go back to the second part of Hillbilly Harper's question, 4-inch line from Hasbro, I have seen nothing that leads me to believe Hasbro has any plans whatsoever for a 4-inch line, unless
I wonder if
you're
he's thinking
talking
of the page punchers.
Those are
Hasbro.
McFarlane.
Those are McFarlane.
Yeah.
And they're not 4 inches. They're like
they're
2
like
inches.
3 inches tall.
Oh, okay.
The closest thing Hasbro has to a 4-inch line is the O-rings that are coming with the Transformers, which, by the way, in my personal opinion, the quality dropped significantly on those with Zartan and Zorana.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think this was the last of the 4-inch figures we're getting from Joe with his Walmart ones, and they're done.
Yeah,
and they're not doing any more of the 2-packs of the O-rings, especially now that Super 7's doing them.
Yeah, I don't see any more 4 inches coming from Hasbro.
And we do definitely need to get a Snake Eyes as an O-ring figure, but dressed in his Boy George costume.
Yes,
yes,
100%, 100%. Yeah. Silent Interlude. I'm going to piggyback on Hillbilly Harper. Will Super 7 be making O-ring versions of most of their 5 POA Joes? There are plenty of them I would love to see. Not all of them, but there are plenty that I would absolutely buy again in O-ring form. And I think, Noel, you kind of you alluded to that as well.
Well, yeah, and I do think that it would not be impossible for at least some of these, because, I mean, the scaling on the upper bodies is very similar to an O-ring figure. They could retool these molds and make them work. So I think you can save money that way. Obviously, you're going to have to retool the legs and the arms and everything like that. But I think in the heads and the upper bodies, torsos, I think you can use the existing mold and modify it.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on that.
Oh,
I don't think that's possible at all.
Okay.
Just because of the differences in functionality of them and how the O-rings are constructed. Yeah, I don't. We'll see, but I don't see how that could work. Do you think we could see vehicles? I absolutely think we could see vehicles.
I think we've already gotten vehicles.
Well, yeah. And we're going to get the mothership.
Yeah. So I think we're going to get some of those. Maybe we get like the pre-production versions of stuff that made it into the cartoon, like the gray Firebat and things like that. We might get things like that instead of.
Well, we know we're getting Trouble Bubbles.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That.
So yeah, vehicles. I absolutely think as long as Super 7 can make them, they've got to figure out what works. Obviously, the dog sled, as much as I love it, didn't work. So I think they've got to figure out what does work, and it will be stuff that has, significance in media more so than the dog sled, which I will admit, as much as I love it, it was a really weird choice for a first vehicle. What will the price point be? That I can't even begin to speculate. I don't know, a Trouble Bubble with a figure included, considering the figures, the plan now is for the figures to be $20.49. We'll see what the prices are a year from now. But then was the Trouble Bubble, what, 25, 20? So, because it's going to come with a figure, so does that mean it's going to be 45 for a Trouble Bubble? Is that reasonable? Well, how much would you pay for an original Trouble Bubble right now?
One of the things that I will
I just
also
broke
give
Kristian.
Brian, because I can hear Brian Flynn's voice in my head with multiple interviews that they've done about the Ultimates lines when they had to increase those prices to 55, and then for ones like Godzilla line, obviously even more, where he talked about Super 7 is very aware there is a breaking point for what collectors are willing to pay for certain things, so they scale back doing things like accessories or extra hands, stuff like that, in order to stay in a certain price point. So if they were putting together, say, the Trouble Bubble, and they were looking at, okay, a 3 3/4 Trouble Bubble with a figure is coming in very close to the same price as a classified Trouble Bubble, I can see them taking a figure away and saying, look, in order to sell this, we got to make it a $25 vehicle.
Well, and the original Trouble Bubble did not come with a figure, and if Super 7 would be very wise to stick with that idea of some of those smaller vehicles just being sold on their own. Rachel Salinas says, I believe Hillbilly Harper is talking about modern design. At this point in time, I have zero reason to believe that Hasbro has any plans for modern design figures. Dan71, my wallet won't agree, but I will take classified O-ring and the 4-inch modern Joes. And I know a lot of Joe fans will. Look, Joe fans are the most fiercely loyal, I think, of most fandoms out there. I think we're the most likely to cave and say, well, I'll buy that because it's G.I. Joe.
We're not as big in numbers, but boy, do we buy more product than most other fan groups.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel wants a Cobra Aspid and a 2-seat Shark. I'm down with both of those 100%. For those that may not know off the top of your head, the Aspid is the Cobra multi-purpose helicopter that was a cargo copter, a troop carrier, shown in the comics, and I think the cartoon as well.
I think so.
Unless I'm mistaken. Kevin Riddle, Joe Fest could be very interesting this year. Not that it's not interesting every year, but who knows? I think it's very clear that Joe Fest has hired on somebody to do some social media, and I think that's great because if you notice, their profile on Instagram is much, much higher now, and they're doing a lot more news, a lot more sharing vendor stuff. They've definitely changed their outlook on social media, so I agree. I think Joe Fest is going to be a lot more closely tied into modern G.I. Joe happenings and news than they have been in the past. To continue on from Silent Interlude, what will your buying look like for these figures? All of them? A select few? I mean, look, I can't even comment on this. You all know how I am. Noel, I don't see you as necessarily an all of them guy, but I can see you as a lot of them guy.
Yeah, I imagine I will probably be shelling out some money. Yeah, I mean, like, if we're going by the model of like what they've been putting out for reaction, there's a lot of those that I would buy in O-ring that I skipped in reaction, and there's a lot of them that I'll skip in reaction as well, or in O-ring as well that I already skipped in reaction.
Kristian, what about you? You haven't really succumbed to the O-ring disease quite as much.
Yeah, I mean, I have been going back and getting O-ring figures. I would say with the Super 7, it's going to be more of the one-off figures that I wish I had had as a kid, but also certain troop builders. Like the Hasbro 2-pack of the Cobra Trooper and the Officer I thought was ridiculously overpriced for not being able to true build.
Right.
So you give me that Sunbow Cobra Trooper, and I'm probably gonna buy like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, well,
Because
Super 7, please learn a lesson. If you do any kind of troop building 2-packs, make it like a Bat and a Viper.
Well, I think they already demonstrated they know what they're doing when it
Well,
came
right,
to the
'cause they're doing a
offering with the mothership, because it was
5-pack.
5 Vipers,
Right.
5 Viper gunners.
5 Vipers that work out to $15 a piece.
Yeah.
yeah, I would be totally down with that. But I'm not gonna, much like Rachel said, I don't need another O-ring Cobra Commander. I don't
Right.
need another O-ring Snake Eyes. Maybe if they do Dawn, it's Snake Eyes with the red headband. Boy George Snake Eyes.
Throwdown.
I mean,
Throwdown,
they're just
that's
gonna
right.
keep putting Snake Eyes out with various accessories. You know, like if Rob Liefeld, Snake Eyes.
Dude,
Dead game.
Sure.
I'll
Deadly
tell you
Game.
right now, if they redo that Arena of Sport Snake Eyes in O-ring,
Oh,
I will buy that. That because they did Duke and Snake Eyes in the
mhm.
Arena of Sport. I would get that. That would be great. All right, to finish up Silent Interlude, I'm going to have a hard time keeping myself from buying 2 of each so I can have 1 loose and 1 mint on card, but given how fast the figures have been coming, I don't see how that's financially possible. Yeah, I know. Also, we're getting super close to Strike Force Alpha figures being delivered. So yeah, just good O-ring news all over the place.
I have a
Jeff,
feeling that Super 7
but
will
real
be able to
quick,
get the
let me throw this out there. Jeff Butler, Cold Slither Dreadnought O-ring figures being released right out of the gate would be amazing. It would be amazing, and that is my preferred format for them. A lot of people have mentioned them in classified, and I don't have a lot of interest in that for classified. But in O-ring, Sumbo O-ring, yes, please bring them.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think it's reasonable that they're going to put out O-ring figures at the same pace as they've been putting out reactions. There's just a little bit too much engineering that goes into that.
I think like they pace out their ultimate lines really well.
Oh gosh, I hope they don't.
I think they'll put out more than what, because it's what, a wave, 2 waves of ultimates a year. So I could see them maybe doing 3 waves of O-ring.
Let's save this for next week.
Okay.
Let's save our speculation for next week. I think, yes, that brings sound off to a close, which means it is time now for the segment that we call Joe and Tell, sponsored by our good friend Slickalicious. Slickalicious has designed a number of our t-shirts and our new logo here, our more dynamic, appealing logo. Check out Shop Slickalicious on Instagram. So for Joe and Tell, Kristian, have you got a little Joe and Tell this week?
I do. So, as everyone that listens to the show knows, I do love to scan eBay to see what's happening with all the various toy lines. And if any of our friends are living in Michigan right now, for only $4,500, you can own the Konami 1992 G.I. Joe arcade machine.
Ooh.
That is the first time I've seen that pop up on eBay.
Yeah, that's
So,
pretty wild.
I'm not to say that it hasn't before, but man, if I had $4,500, I would absolutely, because the photo is a little blurry, but that cabinet looks in immaculate shape. Like the decal on the side, it's all there. It's pretty gorgeous piece. So,
well, even when you go around to like retro arcades or if you go to a convention that has an arcade section set up, that's not a common one to find.
no.
I've only seen it. They had one at MomoCon here in Atlanta a few years ago. That might be the only time I've seen it.
Yeah, I
Now
didn't
that
know
I'm
it
thinking
existed
about it.
until we started doing the podcast.
But it's a fun game too. Imagine having that and being able to just play it at will. That'd be great.
Yep.
All right, Noel, you got some Joe and Tell?
Sure. This is not my Joe and Tell, but I did want to share that I got to join the club of the
Yay!
Yay!
Ross 3-pack there. So yeah, this I almost I saw something on the floor and I was kicking it aside and I realized, oh, that's the Viper 3-pack. Let me grab that. And then I went to 5 other Rosses that day and found really nothing else of note, but except for a bunch of Zaymots, I think. There was like 8 of one of the Crimson Twins, and that was it.
Everybody's finding Tomax and Zaymot and Ross. So,
But no, my actual this is I'm gonna go ahead and do the present thing again.
oh, okay.
So I'm going to share a screen. Yes, I know. Don't share screen. Do I want to share screen or do I want to share window? All right, here we go. Da-da-da-da.
The
Okay.
anticipation.
So
I don't remember how we did this last time.
yeah, let me. I'm just trying to put up the one thing and not the entire screen.
Okay.
But
We don't want to see Noel's secret
my
steakandcheese.com mortal death fetish.
Well, I was able to share just my images before, and that's what I'm trying to do now. But it's not wanting to let me. All right, let's see. Let me share. Okay. Well, let me see if it does that. Are you seeing anything? Because I'm not.
No, just you.
All right. Well, then I'll just describe it. So
You'll
in 19,
just tell.
I'll just tell. In 19, and you guys can use your Google Foo to look at this if you've never noticed it before. In 1977, there was a little science fiction movie that came out. You may have heard of. It's been very influential for a lot of things. It's called Damnation Alley. And if you've never paid attention to Damnation Alley and the post-apocalyptic hellscape that it presented, there's a vehicle in there called the Landmaster. And if you go do a Google image search real quick for the Landmaster from Damnation Alley, tell me if it reminds you of something that we've discussed at least one time on this show.
Uh-huh.
So like this vehicle's front end is clearly an inspiration for the G.I. Joe APC.
Yeah.
It's an amphibious personnel carrier is what the vehicle is. But it's got this really cool triple wheel design to let it go through the water and drive on land. And I remember seeing this movie as a kid, but it just never dawned on me until recently when I was just looking through some like somebody had done a model of it, and I was like, oh my goodness, it is so much the APC. Like they clearly drew some lines from that when they were designing it. So
I was trying to find a good image to share, but there aren't many high quality images online.
No, I've got a couple of them that I had found that I was going to share, but the one from the poster itself is with all the big like flaming background and everything. It's a really good image of the APC /
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Landmaster.
Right. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm not gonna go to my review camera again. I'm just gonna do it right here. Looks like we've got a nice little setup figured out. I have it in my hand, something that arrived today. This is from the Old World Christmas store, a source of many of the like glass style ornaments. and this was available on Amazon. And I hope the right thing is in this box. It's going to be very embarrassing for everybody if it's not. Well, really just for me. Maybe just for Amazon. But I found this. Our good friend, award-winning author Bobby Nash brought this to my attention the other day. And fortunately, it arrived in time to be featured on Joe and Tell. Very securely packed. I've got high hopes here. Oh, man, really securely packed. We've got a layer of bubble wrap, and we've got a layer of tissue paper. Although I am realizing as I unwrap it, it's much smaller than I thought it was going to be. Like the more layers come off, the smaller it gets. But that's okay. Oh, yeah, there it is. What we have here is a G.I. Joe lunchbox Christmas ornament. Now, when I first saw it, and you'll notice on the front side, it's that image of the Awe Striker that we are in no way completely sick of at this point. But on the other side, look at that. A nice, sparkly Rattler. And I kind of, when I first saw that, gosh, glitter is just pouring.
That's what I keep laughing at. That
off
is
of this thing.
I hate those kind of ornaments so much. With the glitter stuck to them.
So I'm probably going to hit this with some clear coat to keep that, because there's glitter all over my freaking desk now. It is horrible.
Did a stripper come by? What is going on here?
Why does it smell like peaches? So anyway, it is a legit G.I. Joe ornament. When I first saw it, I thought like, oh, I wonder if they just like glued a sticker onto this. But this is, aside from the glitter falling off of it, is pretty nicely done. And the explosions are detailed in glitter. If you can see there's red glitter in the outline of the explosions.
Nice.
So this is...
What's it made of? Is it a glass ornament?
It's like glass, yeah.
Yeah,
it's glass.
I cannot do the glass ornaments. I have too many dogs.
I like... What you have like 2-pound dogs. We've got 3 40+ pound dogs. But you just hang it up high on the tree. But anyway, this thing looks really cool. The glitter falling off it is, I'm not gonna lie, is a freaking problem. But otherwise, it's a really nice looking G.I. Joe ornament. It's available on Amazon and other places online. And it's just nice that in this episode, we've found multiple G.I. Joe Real American Hero era Christmas ornaments after all these years, right? So there you go. That is Joe and Tell, sponsored by our pal Slickalicious. Check out Shop Slickalicious on Instagram. And with that, you guys, I think that's a show. Noel, why don't you tell us a little bit about The Finest?
The Finest is an international G.I. Joe costuming club, and we raise money for a great organization called Canines for Warriors. So if you ever thought about dressing up like your favorite Joe character, or Cobra, or Crimson Guard, or Dreadnought, or whatever other Iron Grenadier, whatever faction you want to do, hey, we're always looking for recruits. You can check out thefinestcc.com or the Finest Recruitment Center on Facebook and help us with this great cause.
And Kristian, tell us where we can find that toy photography that you do so well and yet somehow never use it. I'm going to send you some glitter.
I have
glitter
some
bomb.
Fake snow that I used for some of my Hoth photos from a few years back that had glitter in it, and I said never again. My Hoth battle base still has glitter in it. But you can see those photos and more on Instagram and Flickr.com under the name Legion Cub.
Our music is by Andy Samford of electricminnowmusic.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Audible Interlude Podcast and on X at G.I. Joe Audible. Kristian and Noel, we've had a great time again. Everybody in the chat, thanks for showing up, for supporting us, for enjoying the show. Be sure to check out our audio versions wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, yo, Joe.
Cobra. Glitter.